All right, so let's say I have this task of creating a map of Kansas City that talks about the various energy sources and energy plants and things related to that source. I'm probably going to need to find something related to utilities. Probably need to find information related to where power sources are, like power plants and that kind of stuff. Utility information is pretty difficult to find, but we'll do our best here. Let me see, maybe the Cadastre has some information. So I would download the Cadastre by clicking on this button right here. So I just click on that, it's going to start downloading. It's going to take a few seconds. I'll let that download as it works in the background. I'm going to go to Google Earth because the easiest way to find locations of different objects is just simply search for it. And you can take this point information and you can bring it into ArcMap and begin to visualize this in new ways. And again, I'm improvising here. This is not a tutorial that I wrote down. So let's say I want to go in this region here. I want to look at power. So I'm going to search for power, maybe power plant, and see what I get. Kansas City Power and Light, Kansas City Board of Public Utilities, some resources. It's kind of spread out, but that's okay. So let's say I want to take these points here and think of them as potential locations. Some of these, like this, might just be a building, but we'll start with this. What else going to look? Maybe energy as a option. GE Energy, U.S. Department of Energy. Okay, let's go back a step. I'm going to search for power plant again. Forgot to do one step. Power plant. Okay. So it's going to give you a list of locations, and I'm going to click this button right here. It's called copy the current search results to my places. So what that does is if you exit out of this, it still keeps your search results, but they're now saved within this little folder right here at the bottom of your Google Earth window. I'm going to search for energy real quick. I'm trying to get as much location information of potentially useful areas as possible. So I copied that energy layer there. Let's just use these two for now. I'm going to dump all these into one folder. So let's just put them all into the energy folder. So I'm going to drag this folder and bring it into energy like that. So now all my locations are in one folder. I'm going to right click that and click Save Place As energy.kmz. That's fine. Click Save. Let that do its thing. I'm going to go back to ArcMap. I'll start a new map because we're starting from scratch. So I'll click on New, Blank Map, Save, yep. The Cadastre has finished downloading, so I'm going to go to that, show in the folder. It's a zip file, so I would unpack that by extracting it. It's huge. It's good. It means it has a lot of information. Okay, it will by default put that into your downloads folder. I'm going to copy this, or cut it, because I don't want to make a copy of it. I'm going to cut it into my data folder. So I keep all my data within a single source on my Dropbox. So this is something that you guys need to set up for yourselves, is where you're going to save your location. I will just save it. I'll create a new folder. I'll call this KC Energy or Cadastre. Okay, paste that in there. It's now my Dropbox. Go back to this blank ArcMap. I'm going to add that Cadastre. So go to my Dropbox has already connected, so I'm just going to go to my Dropbox, GIS, KC Cadastre. There's my Cadastre. There's my geodatabase. Let's see what information we got. Easements, utility easement line. Let's see what that gives us. What information is this about? I don't know. Let's see. Oh man, that's very useful. No. Okay, let's continue seeing. Let's continue adding layers and seeing if we can find something useful from this data set. And if I can't find data, I'll show you what I do to improvise. Let's see, where is that? Dropbox, forum, GIS, KC Cadastre, Cadastre. Let's try this one. That doesn't seem to be much either. Again, another very useful. Sewer easements. So we're down to just like finding utility information, okay? Really, the first step is just to see what you got. That's what I'm doing. Water distribution, what is this? Okay, it's interesting. It's just some labels, text. Maybe it would be worth it to bring in the parcel map and look at anything related to energy in terms of its land use. So let's go to the Properties tab, visualize this in terms of the land use code. So you can find any land uses related to energy.
Use past the utilities, man.
Oh, this one. So 4,300. Okay, so it looks like 4,300 is the only one that really is relevant to this. So I'm going to go to the attribute table. I'm going to go to the select by attributes. You know how to do this already. So get the values for the, I'm sorry, gotta get the values for the land use. Double click on land use. So the land use equals the utility, which was, there we go. Apply. I just want to isolate that object by itself. So, well, the Fellowship of Christian Athletes, okay. Interesting utility. Let's just see what we get if you export this information by itself. Selected features. Save it into my folder of GIS, Dropbox. Utility, save, okay, yes. Let's see what this actually is. Give it a red color so that it makes more sense. Maybe let's label this information so we can understand what it's giving us. Okay, so we got some locations of some interesting objects. Our map is starting to develop. Let's go back to, okay, so now let's add the location information from the Google Earth. So I'm going to go to my ARC toolbox. I'm going to go to my conversion tools. I'm going to go to the From KML option, from KML to layer. I'm going to find that energy KMZ that I made. Double click that. Just leave all this as the same. That should be fine. Click OK. So this will bring in my these little points here. These are the energy-related landmarks that I got from Google Earth. I'm not quite sure which ones make sense, but for now we'll just have them as is. What I'll do is I take this point layer and I'll export that data just so that they're all in the same location. So all features, I'll call this power locations. Click OK. Yes. Remove the old one. So now we have some location information related to power, some information in relation to the utility lines, and some information related to these power plants. Maybe when I take these, this point information and begin to see maybe, for instance, the region that it serves, for instance. Not that proximity has anything to do with it, but let's say I want to kind of understand like where this kind of falls in relation to everything else. Maybe I want to draw a buffer around these circles. So what I'll do is I'll go to the geoprocessing and buffer option here. I'll bring the power locations into the input feature here. I will set a distance. Let me think. Maybe we want the distance to be maybe a quarter of a mile.
So we really want to know the area they serve.
Right.
are you just giving us a guess of how much area they would serve, or you're actually?
Well, I have to, the data doesn't give us any information about the area it serves.
Okay.
We'd have to maybe do some research about like which one of these, which areas this specific information is linked to.
Okay.
So, yeah, but you're right, yeah. Maybe that might be something that they just draw manually, for instance, in something like Illustrator or something like that later. For now, I'm just kind of sketching around to see what kind of information I can find from this. So this is kind of the start of a potential energy drawing. I don't know if it is the main one. I have to do more research on the region to kind of understand what kind of story I want to talk about. I'm just looking at what I have at this point.
So good places to start. What else would you guys?
So as Linda was describing some of the energy resources, I just did some research on energy. I just searched for energy, and I found this web map that kind of shows some locations of various, what appears to be like maybe oil, drum information, that kind of stuff. What I'm going to show you is a secret. If you go on, use Google Chrome, and sometimes you can find these live maps. Sometimes, I'd say maybe 65% of the time, you can just take this information and bring it into ArcMap if it's hosted on a GIS server. If you open the developer tools, so go to the menu on the icon side, go to more tools and click on developer tools, right here, I believe this is recording, yeah, it's recording. Open this little window here, this little console, and you want to go to the network tab here. And as you scroll through this map, this network is going to list out a bunch of different resources that the information is being drawn from. I am looking for a specific type of URL, and I see it right here. If you look very closely, this URL has a web address, blah, blah, blah.com/arcgis/rest/services. If you see that combination of REST services, you can probably take that information and directly bring it into ArcMap. And here's how you do it. You copy that link address. You make a new folder on top of your cat, or not a folder, a text document. You paste that link into that note, and you just copy the link address all the way up to that point where it says services. You don't need anything rest of that. Just copy that. Go back to ArcMap. Go to your Arc catalog, and I hope this works because then I can impress you guys. Go to the little folder called GIS servers right here. Expand that. As you can see, I've hacked into many servers over my life. Let's try to add this one. So what you want to do is you want to double-click this thing called Add ArcGIS Server. Make sure this first option here is checked, Use GIS Services. Click Next. Here you can punch in that URL that you copied. Click Finish. And if it works, just wait for a second. It will pop up in this list here, right there. Utilities. So let's see what I can get from this. So let's just turn off some layers. Fossil resources, market hubs, pipelines, and transform.
All coal mines, all power plants.
All coal mines.
What about all power plants? Does that give us anything?
Power plants.
It was under coal mines, yeah.
Oh, there we go. So this brings up these symbols of various areas. So you can compare that with the utility lines, that kind of stuff. So this is information that was directly, that came from that web source. So that's how you bring that kind of photovoltaic solar potential.
Yes.
Interesting. Oh wow, it's all like one color.
Yeah, mediocre.
It's probably too generic for our uses.
That's good to know. You've also got utility lines there. Oh, there's more solar to the west.
Yeah.
To speak up.
Yeah. This is the first time I've seen this, so I'm just kind of like exploring what I see here. Geothermal potential, man, that's a lot of geothermal potential.
What were those dotted lines? Were those distribution lines?
Man, there's so many layers here that.
Okay, we don't know.
Crude oil, petroleum, it's petroleum lines.
Okay.
Pipelines, natural gas lines. Anyway,
This stuff is not in GIS. You can't find this information pre-existing in GIS. You have to find it somewhere else.
The way I found it is through the method I just showed you, where you can take this information and you can bring it into, but it's not a shapefile.
Right. Okay.
If I look at this website here, I don't know if this website will give me any download capability for data. Let me see if I can find like GIS, for instance. Layout information for inactive state maps. Shapefile. Okay, so this also gives you shapefiles for the same information. So for energy, this might be the same exact information. So crude oil pipeline shapefile. If I click that, that's probably the. If I extract that, let's find that, cut that, paste it into my Dropbox. In case I'm just going to copy in here because I'm going to delete this later because it's just a copy. And I believe that should match this crude oil pipeline. Let's see, at that. Yeah, well, it's probably the same thing. Okay, so I found a shapefile resource for energy on that website. So energy might be a bit more of a larger scale look at that.
So those things like the solar potential, the geothermal potential, those are really important because it shows us where we can activate those maybe underutilized but more renewable options.
So, but anyway, going back to the original technique of using a live map to download information, that's how you could potentially find information if you don't know where to find shapefiles. So that's one way to bring it into ArcMap.